Hello, I am Tiff and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to go over two pens that I purchased from the Triangle Pen Show. And the Triangle Pen Show, actually, to be honest, it's right down the street from me and I didn't even know about it. It's smaller than some of the others like San Francisco, Chicago, DC. But it is in the Research Triangle area of Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. And my main purpose for going was just to get some custom grinds on a few of my pens. But I did come out with two pens that I thought were just interesting, so I thought I would share them with you guys. First pen is actually a vintage pen. I have been really interested in vintage lately. Up until now, I did not own any. And I kind of just wanted to try one out. So I was at one of the tables when I first walked in, and there was a gentleman that pretty much specialized in vintage. And I'm just looking around, and he kind of showed me this one. And I was really just, well, first of all, this resin, let's just go ahead and appreciate. It's beautiful. I was not looking for anything in particular. I was not looking for green. I was not looking for cracked ice or anything like that. This one, he just pulled up and showed it to me. You can definitely see the wear on the brass. And this is a lever feel Parkette. And I think it's the deluxe. He told me this was made in the 1930s. After I did a little bit more research, this was probably between 1938 and 1942, if you want to get that specific. But again, it is a lever feel. And the way I was trying to determine the time frame of the pen is the Parkette. They had a lot of distinguishing features in different years, sort of like when different models came out. This one has just the 2 rings on the cap. And just judging by the actual, how the end of the finial, how it is made. But it's such a nice, and it has an ink window. Let's put it this way. It has a fairly nice ink window. It's kind of translucent right here. It's kind of hard to tell because I did put some ink in it. This is the original nib, and it doesn't have a size on it. There is no size. I don't know if you can see that. On the nib, it just says, it says Parkette, I think. Actually, it just says Parker, but on the actual, let me close this so that it doesn't dry out. Somewhere very lightly, I can barely find it in this light. Let's see. Yeah, you can just like barely see it. There is some slight engraving right there, and it's Parkette, I believe. So not knowing exactly what nib size it is, I kind of just had to guess. I did take it to a few other tables for some people that I would consider, just listening to them talk. I didn't know these gentlemen, but they were specialized in vintage pens as well, just to get their opinion of what they felt the nib size was. And I'm going to go ahead and try to do a quick writing sample. So the nib, it's also considered a flex. It does flex just a little. But to me, it feels more like a medium. It's not a broad. You can see there. But it has a pretty thick line. But it's really smooth. Parkette. Yeah. I'm fairly confident that this would be a medium nib. It is quite bouncy. It's actually fairly comfortable. It's smaller than I tend to like my pens, but it's fairly comfortable. I think if this was not a vintage pen, I would try to, change the nib. get a grind. But by this being a vintage pen, I don't want to, I want to keep it original as much as possible. So I doubt I will utilize this a lot, but I did want to get a vintage pen just so that I could have something to compare and to just appreciate the history behind fountain pens. And in reading up on this particular one, it's actually really interesting, the whole Parker story. But yeah, I like it. And I think was called Green Marble, and it came out during the Depression era. So as you can imagine, compared to the price of pens nowadays, this was so inexpensive. Actually, this sold for like $1.95. I mean, can you imagine if this came out today in this size? $1.95 is what in my research how much this was when it first came out. Again, it was during the Depression era. It has a military style clip that does work. And it has the ball end on it. The cap finial is just black and rounded, as well as the finial on the end. It does post. I feel like I'm kind of going backwards. So I normally do my writing sample at the end. But I was really glad I got it. And the gentleman that sold it to me, I really wasn't planning to purchase a pen. But I was asking so many questions about the history of the vintage pens and this series in particular, that he was like, look, you just take it for this minimal amount, what I would consider, it wasn't $1.95, but I would consider it a very minimal amount, because I don't know if I was just getting on his nerves or if he was really intrigued by how much I wanted to know about it. And he basically was like, I really want you to have the pen so that you can start a vintage journey. Basically, he's like, I really want you to have it so that you can experience a vintage pen. So I don't even remember. I know his first name was Dan. That's all I know. He was such a gentleman, and I just really appreciated his knowledge and how helpful he was. So my very first vintage pen, and it is the Parkette Deluxe. The next pen I came across was Danitrio. Danitrio, okay, so first of all, I had never heard of Danitrio. I just saw the pen. I was like, this is lovely. I loved the colorway. I mean, you know me, earth tones, and it was just so nice. I will admit that the cap almost looks like it doesn't match a little bit, because it's kind of, see how the like swoosh, it kind of blends into the cap band here, where this part is a little bit darker. But to me, I like it. It gave it character. But this is brown marble and Danitrio. Now, again, I had never heard of this brand, and so I immediately did a little bit of investigation. And this is, oh yeah, this is the cum laude, or cum laude. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. Just like at a graduation, cum laude, I guess. That's the model. And when they made these, it was made to be an affordable option. This was like, I don't know, I think when I looked it up, they were made around $200, and that was affordable because they no longer make these, and now they only specialize in like Urushi and very, very high-end pens. So they are not as known for this brand. This was like made for students, and this is an oversized cigar shape. I love the size of it. It's okay. Let's just compare it to, put the cap back on it. Let's just compare it to the one we just looked at, to the Parker. Like, look at that size. I mean, it's a behemoth compared to the Parker, but pens were a lot smaller then. My understanding is because people would write all day. They weren't typing, back then. They were writing, so the pens had to be light and comfortable. But this one came out that was geared towards students. They wanted it to be a more an affordable option. But this is a celluloid, and It has gold-plated brass clip and trim, and this is also 100% Japanese ebonite. So, yeah. Here's a close-up look. I love the color. I see a little bit of red, the tan and brown chips, and then here's the reddish brown along with the black and deep brown. A little lighter in the cap. Some more, way more chatoyance in the cap. But it's super comfortable. Again, rounded cap and end finials. But this is kind of like a tortoise look. And also, this pen utilizes, I looked it up, this particular pen does, see, I just put a little bit of ink in here, not much, just so I could test it out. And it has its own converter, and it says Trio on it right here. So it takes a cartridge converter, but I know these pens were also made for to be used as eyedroppers, but some of them had a metal grip section here. And so if you wanted to use it as an eyedropper, you had to get the ones that did not have the metal section. But these are very seamless. They're made from whole rods, so there's no seams in it at all. They are postable, but that makes for a very long, very back-weighted pen. And let's do a quick writing sample. All right, this is the Danitrio. And I didn't even write the name of the first one, but that's okay because we were talking about it. Oh yeah, this is, it has 0.8 written on the nib, and it is quite thick. So I believe if you look at this nib, let's see if I can get a close up. It's a very thick nib. And at the very bottom, and look at the design on it. Isn't that pretty? It's like, it looks like a butterfly, I think. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I still need to figure that out. But the very bottom, it says 0.8. I didn't even know stubs came in a 0.8. Maybe that's my own ignorance. But this is Danitrio. And this is the Cum Laude and brown marble. And it writes so smooth, guys. I'm like, and oh, and I have Iroshizuku Tsukushi in here. So it's, if I get a close up, you can see the shading of the ink. So we know anytime I test a pen, I'm going to use an Iroshizuku ink just because I just know I can get the feel for the pen and not have to worry about if it's a bad ink in there or anything like that. It's a very, very stiff nib. But it's smooth. It is so smooth. So this is definitely one that I will get a custom grind on, because this is just a stub nib. It's just definitely too thick of a nib for me, for my liking and for my writing. But yeah, I was really happy to pick this one up. It's one of the reasons why I like going to pen shows, because I don't necessarily want to pick up a pen that I could get at any given time. You know, I'm not going to a pen show to pick up an Eco unless it's like, unless they're 50% off or something like that. Yeah. And I did see some really, really good pricing on just pens that you could buy elsewhere. But I mainly was going to, like I said, to get a custom grind. But then if I saw something either that I had never heard of or something that I wanted to try, that was my main reason for wanting to pick these up. And to me, that's the perfect reasonings for me to go to a pen show. Custom grinds, and then just seeing pens that you just don't normally get to see and hold and test out. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. The next show that I'm going to try to attend will be in DC in August, I believe. So I can't wait for that one. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.